It may be human nature to be under the impression that the place where you grew up was not very interesting and did not have its own unique culture. After moving away from the place where I grew up and 30 years living in other places and traveling the world, we did have an overwhelming number of bars and a permissive drinking culture. We're kind of known for that, which still exists to this day. The county where I grew up was the #1 pea producing county in like the whole world for a time. Many people have really nice fishing boats, or at least pretty nice fishing boats, and the trucks to tow them, but live in trailers. Their priorities are clear. But I wouldn't say any of these things particularly distinguish the area as, unique per se, because there are other places in America and around the world that have exactly those same kind of cultural attributes. So what is actually unique here? Well, Wisconsinites did grow up knowing that we were the only ones who called it a bubbler. And to this day, I still, honestly, I tried to call it a drinking fountain, but it really does seem like a bubbler. I actually think the term makes sense, and I can't believe it hasn't caught on. Wisconsin is known as the dairy state, and this nickname is apt. As much as there are large conglomerates overtaking agriculture in the rest of the United States, or in many parts of the United States, the area where I grew up still have a lot of small dairy farms with, run by families where the son inherited from the father and he inherited from the grandfather. And these are very active and successful dairy farms to this day, even though they are small farms. And of course, we had to support our local farmer friends, so we all grew up eating a lot of cheese. It's true. Wisconsinites absolutely eat tons of cheese and dairy. But perhaps the most distinctive feature of a culture in general, if you're looking for the distinctive cultural features, you're going to be looking at the food culture, probably. And yes, there are some foods that, when I really think about it, there are some foods that are distinctive to Wisconsin. To name a few, I have never seen peanut squares anyplace else. They're delicious. You should try them. They're delicious. They're hard to make, is my understanding. So I'm not sure I'll ever do a recipe on those, but maybe I should. Maybe I should try it. Jolly Good soda, ridiculous Bloody Marys, and cheese curds. Cheese curds. They gotta squeak, don't you know? And yes, people really do speak just like that there. Yep. But we gotta talk about the Wisconsin Supper Club. I did not realize growing up that this was distinctive. And now that I've traveled around a lot, I realize there really is no other place like the Wisconsin Supper Club. There are different versions of this in other places, but it never really replicates exactly what we have in Wisconsin. Now, for many Wisconsinites, the pinnacle of the weekend dining experience is going to your local supper club. Family-owned, simply adorned, located in the middle of nowhere, bustling with boozy, glad-handing neighbors and friends who have known each other for decades. The place closes by 9:30 p.m., and it is very budget-friendly. It's a frugal area. Nobody's going to go out to dinner and spend $50 an entree. These are going to be inexpensive. But somehow, the Wisconsin Supper Club will pile your plate with shockingly good, fresh, good quality food. The Friday night fish fry is not to be missed. You will never find a better old-fashioned. And if you visit a supper club that specializes in steak, it's probably going to be the best steak you've ever had. And it's going to cost you like $20. That includes soup, veg, and cheesy potatoes. About half of the Wisconsin supper clubs that I've visited have a unique dessert on the menu called Schaum Torte. Now, because of its name, Schaum meaning foam, and Torte meaning, well, tort. I think it actually means tart, which is like a small pie. But if you put in Google Translate, it says tort translates to cake, but then cake translates to kuchen, and tart translates to tort, but then tort. So anyway, foam tart. Because of its name, you would think that it came straight from Germany, but actually I've never seen it on a menu in Germany, and I've traveled fairly extensively in Germany and in Austria and in German-speaking countries, and I've never seen Schaum Torte on the menu because I would have ordered it because I love it. It's so delicious, and I never remember ordering it, so I don't think I've ever actually seen it in Germany. So I don't know how much trouble I'm going to get myself into by saying this, but I think the Schaum Torte is actually a uniquely Wisconsin dessert. I'd love to know if it's served somewhere else and if it's served exactly the same way, because it's pretty consistent in Wisconsin. By the way, up until doing my extensive research for this video by looking into Google Translate, I thought Schaum meant strawberries because it's always served with strawberries. So it's one of those moments like Duct Tape or Morning Dove where I'm like, what is even real? I don't understand. What's happening? So Schaum doesn't mean strawberries, it means foam. But yeah, Schaum Torte is always served with strawberries, but maybe any fruit will do? I don't know. Schaum Torte served with bananas? Maybe. So let us discuss the magnificent Schaum Torte, the best dessert you've never tried. It's somewhat like a pavlova, the essential components being a baked meringue, fruit, and some kind of sweetened dairy like a whipped cream or maybe a vanilla ice cream. I've never tried a pavlova, but I have tried Schaum Torte many times whenever I see it on the menu. As far as I can tell, a pavlova is baked thick and you are able to slice pieces of it because it remains soft in the middle. I've heard people describe it somewhat like a marshmallow. With Schaum Torte, the meringue shells are baked in individual serving sizes and they're baked very thin, so it's meant to be completely crisp all the way through, and it does not slice nicely. So this meringue shell forms a distinct texture difference from the soft fruit and cream dairy topping it. This is probably the most surprising and delightful texture combination I have ever experienced in a dessert. It's unforgettable, and I really want you to try one. So let's make it. We're going to start by making the meringue. So this is definitely the fussiest part of the dessert. It's not actually that difficult to make the meringues, but it does require patience and care and attention to detail. You have to meticulously follow the directions. And don't cut any corners. Don't take any shortcuts. The meringue preparation will take about 4 hours. The rest of the ingredients come together easily and quickly. I cried uncle and went ahead and brought out the stand mixer, the kitchen stand mixer that I have. I have my 6 large egg whites. There's some really fussy things about this recipe, and one of them is that you absolutely cannot, that the whites have to be very pure. They can't have any kind of anything in them, no parts of yolks or anything. I think that's generally important for meringue anyway. Go ahead and lock this puppy in. And then we're going to put it to the lowest setting at first. And maybe the second lowest setting. And we'll keep going like that. So number 2. About 2 minutes into the process. This is about 4 minutes into the process. It's extremely liquidy. You're looking for tall peaks that remain very stiff. Nice and stiff. See, very stiff peaks there. Very stiff peaks, and I'm going to add some white vinegar and a cup of sugar to this. So you can see that it's still pretty stiff, but of course it's lost some of its fluffiness because of the addition of all the sugar. All right, we do have that's about half as much sugar. We're going to go ahead and keep on going. Go a little bit longer. I want it to be able to keep its form pretty well, so I'm going to whip it a little bit longer, maybe 1 more minute. See that the granules of sugar are in there now, And I'm gonna say it's holding its form pretty well. Maybe one more minute. Let's take a look. Okay, I'm pretty confident that will keep its shape. I'm going to be piping these circles, and so when you pipe, of course you want to keep the shape of it a little bit. So I think that'll do. We're going to be putting in a nice cool oven, and it's really not so much as baking it as kind of drying it out. So I think, you know, you want it to be pretty much the shape that you want, and you want it to retain that shape. And it looks like it's going to. Look at that. It is. What is that called? A stalactite or a stalagmite? Stalactite, tight to the top. Look at that stalactite.
Stalactites hold it tight to the ceiling, and stalagmites might reach the ceiling.
Stalactite. It's an egg white stalactite. All right, I found somewhere in the depths of my bakery drawer, I found a piping bag and a little set here. I think what's supposed to happen is this one goes inside of here. It looks right. And then we just throw it inside of this thing. Push it down in here. I have people around me, I could ask them to hold the camera, but I'm stubborn. All right, so we have that sticking out the bottom there. We're gonna set it up in our cup here. We're standing it up and we just fold it down the top. Okay, I'm gonna need 2 hands, but you get the idea. There's 3 scoops inside of there. I'm gonna just fold it down and push down from the top. I can do this with one hand. Try to fold down the top here and kind of just gently push down from the top. And we should be able to see it. There's probably some air pockets there. Oh yeah, it's coming out pretty quick. So the basic idea is I am just starting off with a small circle of a disc at the bottom. And then when it gets fairly wide, I go ahead and pipe up the sides. Nice and slow. I see, you know, this could have been a little bit more stiff, but it's going okay. So that's the basic idea. You want to make sort of a little bowl there. Thank you. They're not pretty. Ooh, it looks like something else. But anyway, they'll have a little bit of a cup in the center there for the goodies to go into. We're going to put some whipped cream and strawberries inside of there. Maybe some ice cream if people want. That there's no part of this that is particularly thick. Some of these are a little too thick, I think. But the idea is you want to make sure that nothing is too thick because you want everything to have access to all the hot air of the oven. You want as many parts. You basically want a lot of surface area. So that is why we make it not too thick. I noticed with a pavlova, and sometimes people that do this with Schaum Torte as well, they make it sort of like a cake and it's very thick. And that means that it's going to be quite soft in the middle, but I like it completely dry all the way through. Okay, and we put it on a very, very cool oven at 225 for 2 hours. And then we're just gonna turn off the oven and let them dry out. A very cool oven. Most of the recipes call for 250 for 90 minutes. But as I recall from doing this when I was a child, it's actually much lower than that. 225, I feel like I've even done this at 200, and you just leave them in the oven forever. And then let them dry out after that. Let the oven cool without even opening the door. All right, it is a first thing in the morning here, and I'm a little bit nervous. I gotta pop open the oven here and see how it did. Dave's instructions were to turn off the oven at 11 o'clock at night, and then I was going to pull them out this morning. And basically you just leave them in there to dry after they're finished cooking. They look good. Oh. Yes. That's it. All right, friends, so you can see that the meringues kept their shape for the most part. Some of them did collapse a little bit. I think that I should have beat the egg whites for longer. I have seen as long as 10 minutes. But anyway, the texture is really just what we want. It should be, in my opinion, very, very stiff the whole time. See, just a little bit of separation there. Let's turn it over and see the bottom. No brown, just a little bit of discoloration. They should be white, in my opinion, Okay, I had run out of pans yesterday, so I'll show you one of the things that I had to do. I ended up throwing some, just the rest of the batter onto another pan, and some of these ended up quite thick. So you can see this one, because it was so thick and because it had a great deal of surface area, it did not have a lot of surface area. It had areas in there that were not baked. That means that it was quite soft, and it baked up that way. So not all areas of this one, so it's nice and crispy on the outside, but then it actually stuck to the parchment paper when I pulled it off, and this is very soft inside of there. It's still going to taste fine, but it's just not the texture that you want for a Schaum Torte. I'm going to try this one. It's very good. It's just what we want. It really is dry the whole way through. I suppose the best way to describe this is it sort of tastes like somewhere between, I suppose a hard marshmallow would be the closest, but that is really not what they are at all. It tastes a little bit sparkly, and the crunch is perfect, and I don't really know how to describe it. It's eggy. It's not eggy at all. It is sweet. It is quite sweet. And this will probably comprise most of the sweetness of the dessert that I'm going to put together with these. If you are going to make meringue, do just as I did. I would say whip it a little bit longer, and maybe at a higher power. Don't be afraid of over whipping. I don't think that's a thing. Not with this particular dessert. Cool oven, very long cooking time. Leave it in the oven to dry after it's finished. And so these ones I'm going to be using for dessert tomorrow. They're going to be nice and dry, and I'm going to store them in an airtight container until tomorrow. Keep all that nice dryness. I just thought of a better way to describe how these taste. It's sort of like a malted milk ball. It's very melt in your mouth. Without the bite of a malted milk ball, sort of without that tangy flavor, but it is very much like the same consistency and somewhat of the same flavor. So to make a strawberry sauce, these are completely natural strawberries that were just frozen as is. They were basically sliced and immediately frozen without any kind of preservatives or sugar or anything. So we're going to go ahead and add sugar to them, and then as they thaw, the sugar will pull juices out of the strawberry cells and will cause them to juice up. So we'll just, I don't know, honestly, you could add any amount of sugar you want. We already have plenty of sugar inside of the meringues themselves. And I am lunching with two ladies who aren't super fond of the sweet, so I'll just kind of lightly dust here. I think that's plenty. We'll check back on this in a little while. All right, here's our strawberries. They were in the fridge overnight. They're thawed out now, and you can see there's plenty of juice. So again, all I did was add a little bit of sugar to that, and we're able to get some nice juice next to all the strawberries. Let's make some whipped cream. Normally in the past I've used heavy whipping cream and confectioner's sugar. I've gotten away from my whipped cream through the years. I just don't care for it as much, and this is a dessert that is plenty sweet already. So we're just gonna go ahead and whip our cream. I'm going to keep checking it. It's still a little gloopy there, so a little more. Maybe 20 more seconds. Yes. But I actually don't have a fancy dessert dish, so instead, let's just amuse ourselves. Okay, so these meringues have been sitting nice in a plastic bag in a dry space for about 36 hours since they got cooked. I mean, these are the things I spend time thinking about. Should I put the strawberry sauce on next? I just didn't know. I felt like the strawberry sauce would kind of take away some of the integrity of the meringue. And in some ways that's a good thing, but yeah, we're not going to be able to see that inside of here. Now, growing up, I always had Schaum Torte with ice cream. I don't really like vanilla ice cream very much, but it is typically served with vanilla ice cream. And it seems to me the ice cream was always the first layer on the meringue, and then strawberry sauce, and then whipped cream. All right, and then we're going to add one more layer of whipped cream to the top. So normally it would be meringue, ice cream, strawberry sauce, and then whipped cream. We're going to go ahead and use both of our cream layers as whipped cream, because I just really prefer whipped cream to ice cream. That is the reality of it. And the strawberries in the store were looking pretty nice, so I thought I would grab a fresh strawberry and add it to the top. Pretty nice. The thing that really struck me when I first had Schaum Torte and I was a kid was the different textures together. The flavors are really nice together, of course. I mean, as you can imagine, dairy and strawberry and a little torte in there, really nice. Kind of like a strawberry shortcake, I suppose. But that texture, the texture of the meringue is so, so nice in this dessert. It's wonderful. I do not miss the ice cream at all. Bon appetit. Okay, I'm going to be totally honest and say I think it needs the ice cream. The ice cream does add just that extra sweetness. Maybe I could sweeten the whipped cream, but I think the better way to go is just to go ahead and add ice cream to this. Add vanilla ice cream as that first layer right on top of the meringue, then the strawberry sauce, and then the whipped cream. I think that is an essential component of this, I'm going to admit. All right, so this is an egg beater. This is a hand egg beater. And this is how it operates. Yes, this is the way that we used to make Schaum Torte when I was a kid.
Unbeat them.
Oh, backwards to unbeat them? Mm-hmm. It used to have, I feel like it was, what color was that, blue? A blue?
It was wood. Yeah,
wooden?
It was wood.
Yeah.
So that's actually how, in the olden days, when I was growing up in the 80s, and we wanted to make Schaum Torte or whipped cream or anything like that, whip egg whites or anything, we would have to whip them with an
Good
egg.
one. It's a Mercedes one.
Is it a Mercedes?
Mercedes.
Oh, jeez.
And it hurts the hand. It hurts the hand without the handle there. That came off at one point. All right, so I found an ice cream in my mom's fridge. Happy Mother's Day, Mom. And the ice cream she had was not vanilla. It was a cherry. What is this? Cherry cordial ice cream.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try these textures together because the ice cream with the coldness of the ice cream and the extra sweet there, it's good. Vanilla probably would be a better pairing, but the ice cream does add.
It adds the cool. Adds the cool.
Adds the cool.
Cool.